those. Joining us now, John Pope, the chief of the fire chief, I should say, for Collins, Mississippi, and also the president of the Mississippi Firefighters Association. John, thanks for coming on Middays. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Gerard. It's a pleasure to be here.
So we touched on this bill last week on the program, and it was the result of a text we received on our C-Spire text line. Someone was asking about HB521, and this is a program, as I recall, that would provide financial rewards to firefighters, volunteer firefighters, right?
That's correct.
Specifically volunteer.
Yes.
That achieve certain length of service.
That's correct.
So I think the goal there is just to keep them serving as long as possible and have a little financial incentive out in the future for them to do so.
It is. The bill 521 is the Length of Service Awards Program, or LOSAP. There are 33 other states that have similar programs with great success. And the true need for this bill is for the recruitment and retention of volunteer firefighters. The volunteer fire service protects over 85% or more of the communities in the state of Mississippi. People, more than likely, if they ever have a need for emergency services in their lifetime, they'll be touched by a volunteer firefighter. If they have an accident on the side of the highway, traveling to here or there, home fire in their home, medical emergency such as that, they have a higher chance they may be touched by a volunteer firefighter because they protect such a large portion of our communities throughout our state and throughout our nation. But really, what really drove this is that there's been a big decrease in volunteerism in the fire service. We know there's a decrease in volunteerism across the board in this day and time. But in the fire service in Mississippi, we've seen about approximately maybe a 30% decrease in volunteer firefighters in the last number of years. So now we're probably at around 9,000 or so men and women that volunteer to serve in their local communities. But as you said, this bill would provide incentives based on meeting criteria through the program that qualify them to receive points. They'd have to receive a minimum number of points annually to receive the financial contribution into the defined benefits fund. And then after 20 years of credible service and certified service, they would receive the lump sum payment plus the interest that those dollars received during that time frame.
Okay. So it's, and you said it's a defined benefit program,
That's correct.
Right?
It's a defined benefit program. Be managed by some type of financial management type group. There's different ones that do that now that are doing it for other states. And, like I say, had great success, and it's just a good tool to be able to keep good people serving communities.
So just to clarify, the volunteer firefighter would not be required to contribute their own funds to the program.
No, that's right. This would be strictly from dollars through the program. Okay. A question that came up yesterday, we had a Zoom meeting at the State Fire Academy, had some questions asked, and they said, well, could cities or counties or the individual firefighters contribute more? The way the program is intended and set to be now, that this would be the defined benefit from the state side that would come from that. And then if they chose to do something, then what they could do is they could start their own private type savings type plan like that.
Sure.
And then these dollars, upon receiving that 20 years service credit, and they decided to say, okay, I'm going to leave the volunteer fire service, they could take that one-time lump sum and roll it into their other and help to boost that if they weren't in need of those dollars immediately. But they would not be adding their skin in the game, so to speak, is their service voluntarily protecting their local communities.
Okay. So just to clarify now, if they separate and they cease their service as a volunteer firefighter.
That's right.
Are they eligible for anything?
No. If they cease their service and they do not meet that threshold of the vestment period in the 20 years of service,
okay.
then they would not receive the payout on that.
Okay.
So it's basically, it's meant to recruit and retain, and keep those people because they gain perishable skills and knowledge and training and skills to serve. So therefore, this is a small way that we can offer them an incentive and basically a thank you to say we appreciate you for your service. It's a at the end of it, the way the base definition is now, what it would pay is like $500 per year.
Yeah,
it has the ability to where it could have steps to increase based on longevity.
Yep.
But $500 was the base. So you're saying $10,000 after 20 years of service plus the interest that it would go. There's a built-in cap in there that a minimum of 3% interest that it would gain to where it would have some growth and gains. That way if you drop down to a quarter point interest or whatever, to have something to build the stability to it. But it has garnered so much support throughout the state. I really and truthfully see this in the 26, 27 years that I've been in the fire service. I see this as a bill that could be a true game changer for the fire service as a whole of the state, and also a force multiplier, because we're going to see people that say, hey, I might have been thinking about getting out of the fire service, but this is something that motivates me to be able to know, because people that are volunteering to be firefighters, they're not doing it for money. Let's just put it this way. At the end of 20 years, $10,000, $500 a year is not a lot of money, but it's a small pat on the back and thank you for the risks they take and the responsibilities they take each and every day to serve their fellow man. And it's truly a calling. Well,
you're so right. When you see the goal line, you really start thinking seriously about, well, I'm thinking about exiting, but I'm within some period of time, and if I just stick around, I've got this bonus waiting for me.
That's right.
That it's a very common practice, as you well know, in the private sector as well.
Indeed. And I was thinking back on the way over here and on the way up to Jackson today, being here in the studio and sitting across from you, and then for years sitting across from my good friend JT, and, great proponent and supporter of the fire service. And we talked about things like this. What can we do to support those that are supporting us and working each and every day? And I kind of thought as I was coming over, I said, JT's grinning down right now and smiling and saying, go get them. Y'all do this to take care of these people. And we hope we can get it across the finish line as anything, dealing with legislation. There's questions that are asked, there's concerns, and we want to be there to answer those questions.
Yeah.
And the program, what we have in the qualifying points proposed, and the way the program is, it can still be adapted. There's a set for there to be a board of trustees over it. It would be the commissioner of insurance or their designee, the attorney general or their designee, the state auditor or their designee, and then the state fire coordinator that would oversee this program. And then they could have subcommittees to help to, further strengthen this and stuff. But just a good tool to be able to support a lot of communities and a lot of good people that step up to help each and every day.
Yeah. So, John, I'm assuming that you guys have done some analysis to ensure that this would be actuarially sound as well.
Yes. So the dollars would come from the fire insurance premium tax. That fund has been in place for many, many, many years. It's a solid fund. The dollars are there. Currently, what this would be is an additional percentage diversion that would go to fund this.
Okay.
And we, have numbers that we feel that are valid, workable numbers, reasonable numbers. Not just pie in the sky, outrageous ideas. We have, good numbers, and we've looked at it as it's gone through, when it was being proposed, what other states have done, what other programs have done. And I think in honesty, it's probably modest. I think it's a modest plan. It could be a lot bigger than what it is, but we think that this is reasonable. It's modest numbers, but it's going to provide a very good, tangible benefit. And I think that the state of Mississippi is going to see great yields in it, and I think it's going to yield more safety for the general public.
Where does it stand now?
Okay, so right now it came out of Jub B last week. It's double referred. It was referred to appropriations. So we are still working the process. It's not out there. Of course, nothing's dead until sine die. We're still working through it. I had a lot of phone calls, a lot of strong support from both individuals, firefighters, and community members, but also from legislators and such, and then also from a lot of members from the Senate saying they were looking forward to the bill getting over to that side to try to take it up. So we don't have it across yet, but we're hoping that in the very near future that we'll get the support it needs to get it through. So right now, it's basically setting for appropriations and hoping it'll get taken up.
Interesting. Before we go, the Senate You talked to folks over there?
We've talked to some over there, and they seem very positive on it and stuff. We've talked with those that we feel the committees it would go to, and we're going to continue this conversation and try to move this thing to finish and get it passed.
It seems reasonable to me. Again, I say from private sector experience, this is fairly common practice because you make a lot of investment in people, and you need a way to keep them around, and nothing does a better job of that than financial rewards.
It is. I mean, it makes a big difference, and, at the end of the day, it's about safety.
It is. John, appreciate it. Good luck with that. We'll be tracking it. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Gerard.
John Pope, the Collins Fire Chief and President of the Mississippi Firefighters Association, has been our guest on Middays. We're coming right back.